welcome to the show. I'm Mary Grace, and we're coming to you with another episode of Grace Time TV on the Mary Grace Media Network. I have with me today a special guest who many of you may have heard of, but hopefully a lot more will know about him after the show and as his book series becomes more and more popular. This is Chad Stewart. He is the author of a series called Britfield and the Lost Crown. This is a series that you're going to want to pay attention to if you have children or grandchildren, or if you're an educator, or if you're doing homeschool, or anything where you are concerned about the quality of the literature that's getting into the hands of children that you know and love, even future children that you may know and love. I already have one friend who found out about this interview and said, oh my goodness, this is something I will be able to buy for my grandchildren. And so I'm really looking forward to this interview. I'm going to read you a little bit of a blurb about this, and then we're just going to jump into the conversation. One of the most awarded books in fiction, the Britfield and the Lost Crown series, is transforming literature and education while bringing encouragement to children and families worldwide. With the first of the 7 Britfield movies in development, the theatrical play from 2023, and the global book tours that are coming up, ongoing, it is estimated that Britfield will surpass even the C.S. Lewis and Tolkien series in worldwide sales and impact. The first live-action Britfield movie is projected to become one of the highest-grossing films in cinematic history. That's a lot. Welcome to the show, Chad. You're on Grace Time. Wow.
Thank you.
This is exciting. Tell us a little bit about your background. Now, you're an
Sure.
Ivy League graduate. I don't know if that's something you want to lay claim to in this day and age,
Oh, gosh,
but
I know, right?
but yeah, tell us a little bit about your background and how you how this came about. Have you always been a writer? Um,
Sure.
yeah, just give us some
Yeah.
background.
Originally from Newport Beach, California. I was back east, Wellesley, Massachusetts, for about 16 years, and that's where I did my undergraduate in British literature, European history, which was really fun. So kind of a
Okay.
double major, and that will sort of explain the series. And then went on to postgraduate and then graduate, and then I was actually got into corporate America and became a stockbroker, investment banker, and was at Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, which is interesting. And it was 12 years ago when I had the idea for the Britfield Lost Crown series. Part of it was I was dying to do something creative, and it all happened when I was sent to this boring seminar in Providence, Rhode Island. I think it was insurance, and that's when I drifted and I doodled a circle with 3 lines, a basket, a boy and a girl, and I wrote the boy in the balloon. And the idea resonated. I just thought, gosh, that would be a really fun children's series.
Okay.
Thinking nothing of it. Yeah.
Right.
So
So, were you steeped in the literature of Tolkien and C.S. Lewis growing up? How did you become drawn to
sure.
British literature and European history? Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I loved. I mean, James and the Giant Peach. So if we go to
Hmm.
the British writers,
Roald Dahl. Hmm.
Roald Dahl. Yeah, I mean, just that was kind of my first book that I really remember that I reading and loved, and the adventure and the floating peach in the air. And do you
Hmm.
notice like a floating object, orange
Yeah.
object, and then 3 years later. So I
Okay.
think that book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the
Yep.
movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder was a musician, and then got into Dickens. I really enjoyed Charles Dickens. I thought he's a great writer in creating this amazing orchestra of Shakespearean characters, all disconnected and yet all connected. Right? They all start. I mean, you have an aristocrat and a maid, and somehow they're all connected. And he just does a wonderful job with that. Plus, he writes in current time, which the Britfield series sort of embodies. I mean, all these books take place in current time, so I think that's interesting. I love Jane Austen, and then I definitely love the Bronte sisters, Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre. And I've actually been to their house and visited up there in Yorkshire, which is a whole other story, and it explains a lot, actually. Uh-oh.
A lot of people, I have a feeling, may be comparing your work with Harry Potter series because it's in a similar genre and age group.
Sure.
However, for people who have more conservative and Christian values, sometimes that series really is not preferable. And
No, not at
I
all.
know people who
Sure.
have chosen not to introduce those books to their children for that reason.
Sure.
Did you have any, was that part of your thought process?
No, it's interesting. I mean, we're the
Okay.
were the absolute opposite of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Now, we believe in the next 10 years we'll outsell the Harry Potter series. That's how
Wow.
big Britfield is.
Okay.
The movement, the impact, it's worldwide right now. We're selling books and everything from Australia and New Zealand to Brazil and Spain to the Netherlands to England to Germany to Japan. So it's pretty cool. But it's actually the absolute opposite of the Harry Potter series. These books are grounded in family, friendship, loyalty, and courage. They're based in present time, and we use none of those devices. We don't use witchcraft, magic, demigods, superheroes, occultism, which is saturating the market. And so, why these books are so popular, not only are they fun and fast paced novels, but they're based in real time right now. They're as authentic as they can be. And as children are reading, as adults are reading it, they're learning about history, geography, art, architecture, and culture. And we also have the four C's that's interwoven throughout, which is creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. So while pretty much the majority of all the books that are on the market, including Christian books, that are still steeped in fantasy and magic, kids can relate to the Britfield series. We don't go down that route. We don't use that device. So
That's good. That's encouraging. I've actually never read that series, and so I'm happy to say. But I know it's it's a part of our culture now, unfortunately.
it is. Yeah,
And I was in education. I had students who would read it and bring it in for personal reading and things like that, and it never held appeal to me. But your series, let's talk about this a little
sure.
bit. So you've got a main boy character and a girl.
Correct.
They're in an orphanage, and the boy finds out that his mother is probably alive,
Parents.
or parents,
Yeah,
both
yeah.
parents.
It's
So
Tom and Sarah, 12
okay,
year olds.
yep,
Yeah, and it's really great because they balance each other very
okay,
nicely. And as a male writer, you have the drive of the male character. But actually, if you were to ask me, my favorite character out of all the Britfield series, and characters is Sarah. I love Sarah.
hmm
And so Sarah, Tom's been an orphan his whole life. He's been at Weatherly for 6 years. This is the year he's going to escape. And somewhere at the very beginning, he finds out that his parents might still be alive. It's like,
okay,
wow. And then Sarah has been at Weatherly Orphanage for 2 years. She came from a very affluent family up in Scotland. And so she
wow,
has that sort of Scottish fiery temper. Very
hmm
well educated. She speaks 4 languages, which is nice because book 2 takes place in France, book 3 takes place in Italy. I'm
okay,
working on book 4 now, Eastern Europe. And so the book series travels the world, ending up in the United States by book 7. So Thomas are the main characters. They're 12 in book 1, they're 13 in book 2, 14 in book 3.
okay.
So it's kind of fun to pivot from middle school, if you will,
Mhm.
to young adult. So
Interesting. Now, are these characters based on anyone that you know? How did you come up
yeah,
with some of
Sarah
these
said the
characters?
book 1 is actually dedicated to a Sarah that I had met while I was living in England, and so I
Interesting.
was I was inspired a little bit by that. And then yeah, most of the other characters are all based on people that I knew or was influenced by. To give you an example, once Tom and Sarah break out of Weatherly Orphanage, giving a little bit away here, they're relentlessly chased by the illustrious detective Gowerstone, and Gowerstone's just a very cool character, and he's based a little bit on Sherlock Holmes and a little bit on James Bond. So he's kind of cool and smooth and just debonair, but he's thinking like 5, 10 times ahead. And it's like, and he was educated at Christchurch, Oxford, and Eton, so he comes from this sort of background of prestige. And you're like, what in the world? Why is he a detective for New Scotland Yard? And a lot of that is told throughout the story. I don't want to give anything away because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's just it's like this fast-paced adventure series that builds
hmm
with intrigue and suspense, and it's layered. And just when you think you know where it's going, it takes a twist and a turn, and it's amazing. It's book 1 is 384 pages. We've had 12-year-olds that have read it in 5 hours. Our youngest reader's 7, our oldest reader's 93. So
I was going to say this really does not sound like a children's series as much as a series that spans the ages and that appeals to any curious reader. I keep thinking as you're talking, I haven't read it yet because I wanted to come into it
sure.
kind of fresh. I know that it's available on Audible, which how are you feeling about the audio version? Do you
Oh,
recommend
it's
it?
it's phenomenal. Yeah, it's in fact
Okay.
just 2 days ago I was speaking with my friend Ron out of Colorado, and he's been kind of a part of this because we have a huge team behind what we're
Okay.
doing, and he helped me get the so it's Ian Russell. He's an award-winning British voice talent, and he
Oh,
was
okay.
just mentioning a couple days ago like
Okay.
how like Ian's the best voice talent we've ever worked with or know of, and so the audio version is phenomenal. It's
Okay.
about I think 11 and a half to 12 hours. He does all the characters, so
Okay.
he transitions and switches to all the characters, and and all we've had is just phenomenal feedback from the audio version. And yes, there'll be 2 and 3. We're working on it this year. So
Okay, so that sounds like the perfect accompaniment to a commute or a long
yes,
drive with the family.
sure.
You
Oh
don't have to
yeah.
worry about, playing it only when the kids are asleep. It's family friendly,
Oh totally.
which
Yeah.
is great. Yeah. One of my favorite authors is Scott Odell. And you mentioned that you really liked your female character, Sarah. And I actually think that he does the best job of creating female protagonists. In fact, I think
Mm,
all of his main characters are female. Are you familiar with his work, Island of the
I'm
Blue
not.
Dolphins? Okay, so this
Yeah.
it's he's a Newbery Award winning author.
Yeah.
Island of the Blue Dolphins is probably his most
That
famous
sounds
work.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to go read it now,
Okay.
because yeah, I think it'll inspire you. He really gets, I think, into the mind and psyche of young female protagonists who are largely about the same age as your character. So I'm just intrigued, for you to, when you mentioned that, when you mentioned that she's your favorite character, it'll be interesting to see, especially since he hasn't actually influenced you. Because
Yeah.
for me, he has set the bar, for a male writing a female character.
Okay. Yeah. Fair
So
enough.
I'm putting out the challenge there.
No, I
We'll
like that.
see. Yeah, yeah. He's definitely one of my favorite. So tell us a little bit more. You have a movie coming out.
Correct.
You have merchandise. There's going to be what else? There's been a screenplay adaptation.
Yeah,
Uh,
here's the actual
yeah.
third draft movie script, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
So
nice,
we're moving into
exciting.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Like the third draft too. Anyone can have the first draft. The third draft was hard. It's polished
Okay.
now. It's ready to go. We're actually doing a read through with actors next month. I was orchestrating that today. Talked with my producer Thursday. We'll be moving into pre-production for the first of 7 major motion pictures this spring. So that's exciting. We adapted Britfield and Lost Crown Book 1 into a 2-act, 90-minute theatrical play specifically for elementary and middle schools, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
Because I think, again, there's a huge gap for that. Right now, there's an 85% gap worldwide for family-friendly content, edifying content, encouraging content that isn't peddling all this agenda and crap and nonsense and everything else we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Saturated market. And I don't know why everyone out there, especially even Christian authors, are hooking their wagon to this crap. Write just good content. Let it be based in reality. To me, that's harder. It's easy for me to create a fantasy world because because I can change the rules. When Tom and Sarah are cornered, and I've written myself into many boxes or corners, I can't just have them like go, what was that spell? Or they wave a wand or they put on a cloak,
Uh-huh.
it's got to be as real as possible. So I don't really suspend reality. I bend it a little bit in book 1 with the balloon, and I have some fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all anchored in reality and authenticity. So I think that's important. But
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
but so the theatrical play, we piloted it 2 Octobers ago. So it was October of 2022
Okay.
at a elementary school in Mission Viejo. That's in Southern California. And it's great. I was working on it, the adaptation, for 18 months. And it was phenomenal. It was over 4 nights, hugely successful. It has speaking roles for 30 actors or student actors, which is incredible. And they're involved throughout the entire play. So it's not like you're kind of your main characters and
Mm-hmm.
then everyone else sits in the back. I mean, they're walking in the background, or they have small parts, or one of the
Mm-hmm.
orphans becomes one of the police officers that has some lines. I mean, it's great from 4th to 8th
Yeah.
grade, and it has 18 sound effects. It has 53 digital slides if you wanted to use a
Mm-hmm.
projector. So in the back, you have these gorgeous shots of England as they're flying over, or Oxford, or Windsor, or London. We use the whole stage
Yeah.
and the aisle. So like you have your main scene, and when the lights go out for that scene, they come
Mm-hmm.
up over here on the right. So it never stops. It's all fluid, and you'll have some scenes even where Tom and Sarah kind of walking up behind you talking, and you're like, oh my gosh, So the fourth wall is never broken, but it's to bring you, the audience, into real time England and let you really experience the play. And it's the closest thing. We say it's one step removed from the movie, and the movie is going to be unbelievable.
Okay, I was just going to ask, how close will the movie be to the theatrical production?
Oh, very close. In fact, it's funny, but I ended up using that as a foundation for the screenplay. We did hire a professional screenwriter who's working on it, draft one and draft two, for about a year. And then this last November, I took over the third draft because I just needed to kind of, if you will, tweak it and get it back on track in some way. And so I've done that now. And so it parallels the book as close as possible. We have complete creative control, if that makes sense. And it also parallels the theatrical play. Because if you think about it, the theatrical play is 87 pages, and for a 90-minute 2-act play. And so I had to take a 400-page book and figure out what's the absolute essential scenes that have to be in it. What's the essential dialogue, if you will, the best of the best, right, of the dialogue, to get it in there. So to me, and I told the scriptwriter, I said, use that. You don't have to rewrite anything. Don't reinvent the wheel. Use it, and then you have 50 pages to expand, right? Because our script is about the one we have right now is about 240 pages, but it'll still be slimmed down to about 200. No, I'm sorry, not 100. It's 148 pages right now, the screenplay.
Yeah, so it's going to be a feature-length film. A lot of films are coming out now just for streaming, like the premiere. They're premiering on streaming platforms. Is this going to be a theatrical
theatrical
release?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. From day one. Yeah.
And do you already have the distribution? Is it already set? Do
we have been in negotiations with a major that we can't talk about, but I'm very pleased and happy with them, and you would be familiar with them, and I think they're going to be great for it. So we have that locked in, and you're talking global release. You're talking an 18-month worldwide tour that I'll be doing across the world for Britfield, the book series and the movie, which will be great. We're going to be at the London Book Fair in March, and then hopefully doing a tour throughout Britain. We just signed with a British distributor for the book series. That literally happened last Friday. And so now you're going to have the entire Britfield series coming out throughout. We were talking about England. It's kind of exciting. So it's going to be coming out through like England, like all the bookstores, libraries, and then across Europe. And then we'll be locking in a distributor here in the United States in the next by June or July. But I'm going to be doing a tour there. I'm going to be doing a tour in Eastern Europe. I'm going to be doing one in Europe. I'm going to be doing one in Asia, South America.
Wow. So you're racking up the miles.
I will be. Yeah. It'll be exciting. It's fun.
Yeah, that's exciting. So just from a logistical standpoint, you're saying obviously you have a team that's doing this with you, bringing content like this to market. I know that there are people out there who have great ideas. I know people who have self-published. I think that the children's book market, the young adult market, is probably one of the hardest to break into in the publishing world. So how did you break that wall? How did you break through? What is it that you did that you can advise other writers that would be effective?
Yeah, it's tough too, because what you have, and you will know, and you probably talked about on your shows before, is that 96% of the industry is owned by 6 corporations, and that's literally everything. That's film, that's publishing houses, and you always wonder, why? Like there'd be a small little publishing house that's been around for 30 years, and suddenly they're bought up by Random House. You're like, why? Why in the world is Random House buying this small publisher? Again, it's control. They want everything controlled so they can control the content and peddle their agenda. And I'll say this to your audience: people aren't buying it. It's not sticking. Nobody likes this crap that's coming out. And all these statistics that you might read, and so many think people are. No, they're not. We hate all this. Worldwide, people hate this crap. It's unnatural. It's disgusting. It's filthy.
Yeah.
It's not a percentage point. So I say that to be encouraging. But on the other side of it, it's a very hard road. So we built our own infrastructure. We built our own team. We built our own. We have our own marketing company, we have our own PR firm that's handling this. And it's not to say that we don't work with outside. This morning before your interview, I was on Zoom call with a publicist in England.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
talking with her for about an hour about the release of the book and
Mm-hmm.
in the London Book Fair and stuff. So we do work with outsides, but it is a massive undertaking. This
Yeah.
is 10 years. This is over 10,000 hours.
Okay.
Millions of dollars has gone into this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't say that to discourage your listeners, because if there's a will, there's a way. But it is hard. It is hard,
Yeah.
and really it's a longevity game, And I get it. I when I was first professionally published by Pelican Publishing, it's like I was so excited. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I'm a published author. And then I realized the publishing industry. I realized they weren't doing anything to help promote the book or push it. I did it. I did the marketing. I did the book
Right.
tour. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's night and day. I mean, 97 out of 100 books that are published traditionally are failures or fail to make a profit. So
Yeah.
what I found is that people in publishing don't know anything about publishing or storytelling. People in marketing don't know anything about marketing. So be careful and don't buy the packages, for
Yeah.
$5,000 or $10,000. They're not going to deliver jack diddly. So be careful, be diligent, be vigilant, and be in it for the long haul, and do it because you love it, and do it because you're excited.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Now, you've built this infrastructure. Do you have plans to bring other authors
I do.
into? Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah, that's always been the focus. Right now, we're just
mhm.
obviously completely consumed with the Britfield series, as you would expect, and we're still building the infrastructure.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like last week, and we were working on that for 10 months, to get the right distributor for Britain. Now that's established. So how great
Mm-hmm.
is that? And then by June, we'll have one in the US. And so, reason you might not be seeing it in bookstores or libraries yet, although it's out there, is because part of it is because of that. We're still doing it. Everything you've seen that we've done in the last 4 years has been a soft launch of this series, because this
Mm-hmm.
is the next generation. We're saying that Britfield is this generation's book series, but our longevity is for the next 20 to 25 years. Seven
Mm-hmm.
movies, 7 books, television programs. We're in development on 2 programs right now for television. Great content for kids and
Interesting.
families. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's really interesting. And,
it's a long haul.
from what you're saying, you really are thinking generationally, and you're thinking about a classic or classic series of
Sure.
fiction for all ages, which, you can, the box set of the C.S. Lewis series is just as desirable today as it
Sure.
was 50
Absolutely.
years ago, right?
Absolutely.
And the theatrical adaptations, the audio adaptations, it's classic. And if what you have even comes close to rivaling or surpassing that, it's going to be groundbreaking, really. Um,
Yeah. We've
yeah.
already seen this as a timeless classic, and it's designed that way.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and
It's very
it's playing.
exciting.
That's
Do you
good.
have any, are there any plans in the works to incorporate your work into any educational curricula, for homeschooling, middle schools, any things like that? I mean, I know that the textbook publishing industry is even harder to break into than the trade book industry. Oh, but how is that looking? Or is that something
Yeah,
that
it's
you're
good.
looking at?
So it's interesting when we kicked off in we launched officially book one in August 2019, and I started a 9,000 mile tour for the Britfield series, or
Hmm.
book one, and traveled to 23 states, presented at over 200 schools to more than 40,000 students.
Wow.
We already have an 83-page study guide for
Oh, good.
book
Okay.
one, and we're actually already in hundreds of schools across the nation being taught this semester. How cool is that? And through a partnership with a massive retailer, we're already in thousands of schools across the nation. So what's nice about it is Britfield is designed to be taught in the classroom. It really is. It's like your classic story to be taught.
Hmm.
It's got so many layers and levels, character development, themes. Starts up in Yorkshire, Northern England, at this horrible orphanage. There's a lot of themes with that orphanage. What does that represent? The kids have to work all day in a thing called the factory. Does that represent? I mean, you could just go as deep in this. You could spend a week just on the first couple of chapters if you're a great teacher. It's tailor made for the homeschool movement and homeschool organizations out there. We have a award-winning Britfield website, which is has over 400 pictures of England, and so the website was designed to complement the book. It's got interactive maps, so you could actually be reading or teaching it, and then go to the website and say, let's see what Yorkshire looks like. Oh, at Yorkshire. Let's see what Oxford looks like. And
Yeah,
hey, there's
yeah.
High Street, and there's
The
Trinity College.
the website is
Everything that's in the
amazing.
book. Yeah,
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 I have a link up here to the website for listeners. You can scan the QR code. If you are just listening on an audio version, you can go to Britfield.com. It's Britfield with one T, Britfield.com, and you can experience this. It's really fascinating. It's one of the most interactive websites I've seen. It's amazing to me how much you've put into making this accessible to readers, and to enhancing the experience even before bringing a film out. It's incredible.
yeah. And that's all the legwork.
Who did your website?
Yeah, and then I'm going to give a shout out. It's
Yeah,
a company called Studio 98. They're out of Florida. They've done about 7,000 websites, and I'm very meticulous, as you can imagine. And
yeah,
I spent a couple of months designing the website. Like I'll do
yeah,
all the hard lifting, and I picked like the pictures, and I had to go through thousands of pictures
yeah.
and how I wanted it set up and all that. I gave it to Studio 98, and believe it or not, Studio 98 blew my mind, literally. They exceeded my expectation. They did such a great job with it, and
That's
that
good.
rarely ever happens. It's always disappointed, and you're like, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 and you know what I mean. Oh my god! I mean, like, there's a picture like in Hyde Park of the Serpentine Lake, and you pull it up on the website. It's like the whole picture, and it's like so beautiful and glorious, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's spectacular. So
it's good. Yeah.
I have no insight with them, but it's just like, boy, when someone does something well, I want to give them
Oh,
praise. And
sure.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. Yeah, they deserve it. It's just it's amazing. It's fascinating, and I think for anybody who's thinking about getting the book series, I check out the website, read the book, then go back to the website because it's going to enhance
Sure.
the experience for sure. So when can we expect to see the film released in theaters? I know you said you're in pre-production,
Moving into
uh,
pre-production.
moving into
Yeah. I,
pre-production.
I'm hoping things are going to start. I think, not hoping, things are going to start to accelerate now this year, starting in February and March. And so you actually will probably start to see some press releases coming out in some of the main trades. And you probably see me doing some interviews on sort of some of those, bigger
Okay.
things as it starts to, if you will, if the dam starts to crack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to be filming in England either in the fall of this year or spring of next year. That has to happen time
And you're going to
wise.
film on locate like in England
We
on
will film in
location.
England as much as we can. That really
Okay.
is the plan. I mean, the point is like two things. One is, I know how films work. It's like they call like Canada Hollywood North. I know that a lot of
Yeah.
stuff's happening in the South because of tax credits. I know that you can
Yeah.
have an opening scene of London, which is beautiful, and then the next scene is like this cobblestone street, and that could be in Romania. But at a studio in Romania or a town
Yep.
in Romania.
Yep.
There'll be some of those devices used, but I think for the authenticity of the book, for England in general, it's to their best interest to host us and host us well. We want to shoot in England. We want to use British actors and for the roles, and just keep
Hmm.
that fun and that excitement and that buzz going. And I because it's going to open up a porthole to England to such an extent that, I mean, I believe it'll increase their by 3 to 5% once the movie comes out. I mean, people are going to want to go to England.
Yeah.
What's exciting is all these are real locations. Unlike all the other books in these fantasy worlds.
Hmm.
You can go to Oxford and walk High Street. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is where Tom and Sarah were running down. You can have high tea at the Brown Hotel in Mayfair. You can stay at the Duke's Hotel in St. James Place. Those are real places, real
Right.
locations that's in
Yeah.
the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a teacher in middle school, an eighth grade teacher who had spent a lot of time in England, and we read the Sherlock Holmes series, and he brought it to life for us because he would explain. We didn't have the internet then, right? But he would talk about these different places and bring them to life and explain to us, okay, this is what they're talking about, this is the street they're on. So even just having that brought into our lessons in the classroom, verbally, without a lot of audiovisual uh, interaction. It really enhanced my love for Sherlock Holmes. So I can imagine
Mhm.
with your website, with all of the interaction that you have available, it's going to enhance the experience so much and lead to more travel. Do you have who do you have in mind for the actors? Is there anybody that you can think of? Like, I'm thinking of this
Yeah.
iconic detective.
Yes.
Who would you pick for him?
Yeah. It's funny when I was writing book one. Oh, no, I lost his picture, but I had a specific actor that he's based on that was in my mind.
It'll come to
Colin
you.
Firth. Colin Firth. Colin Firth.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the actor Colin Firth was my model
Hmm.
for Gower Stone. He's because he's kind of like cool. He's very serious, but he's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
unemotional. But unfortunately, in my opinion, Colin Firth has kind of aged himself out of it now. He's almost 64, and
Okay.
so I was like, dang, we were looking at Jude Law potentially, but there
Oh,
might be too much. Although he'd be great, there might be a big crossover because he's involved in the next version of the Harry Potter series. And there's another actor that we really like, Andrew, and I can't think of his last name. He's up and coming. He was in he played a character in that series on HBO. Uh, anyway, sorry, I'm just blanking.
it'll come to you. That's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I was gonna say Lord of the Rings, but that's not it. But he's kind of our main actor. He's
Okay.
perfect. He's kind of like 40-ish, 42.
Okay.
But that's not helping your audience because it's like, but
That's
he's kind of
okay.
one of the characters. And then we're looking at a lot of other great British actors that you'd be very familiar with as some of the court sort of character actors because you really
Hmm.
have like I would say that Gower Stone because the movie the series continues and Gower Stone comes back in 2 and 3. And we introduced a very small character in at Oxford, whose name is Oliver Horningbrook, but he plays a major role in 2 and 3, and so we had to kind of
Okay.
come back. Yeah. So a lot of these actors you will notice, you will see,
Hmm.
and be familiar with. Hainsworth is interesting. I've got some actually Bill Nye, the actor, not the science
Oh,
guy, but
okay.
Bill Nye. He was in Love Actually.
Okay.
He played the rocker, the kind of burned out rocker. He's great. He's
Okay.
been on my list for a long time. And yeah, so he would be perfect as Professor Hainsworth. They meet him at Oxford, and
Okay.
Hainsworth helps get him to London. So,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
so we're looking at these are some of the actors we're looking at. We've got about 4 or 5 for each role, and so a lot of it
Hmm.
depends on their interest, of course. But again, too, they might be really thrilled, but it's scheduling, and so it's a
Right.
complex game of
Sure.
getting the director, all the right actors for this particular time frame. But we'll
Hmm.
make it work. So
Do you have a director in mind?
we do, yeah. You would recognize him, but I want to keep it on the down
Okay.
low. But yeah, he
Okay.
was he was involved in a major adaptation series and was involved in some of the most successful films. He's great with
Hmm.
kids and kid actors. He's been on my list from day one, and so he's my number one choice at the
Yeah.
moment. So
I keep thinking of Ewan McGregor as you're talking about
oh,
actors.
funny, yeah,
I
sure.
don't know. He could be interesting. He's done a lot with kids.
I think it'll be interesting, like because I have
Yeah.
and I work with the producer a lot, and I have a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean this is my project, so it's like if I
Yeah.
don't want it done, it won't get done. Put
It's
it that way.
exciting.
But with that said, I have a lot of faith too, though, in the system in the sense of like the casting agent, the director. I might
Yeah.
visualize something. This is my best example. Daniel Craig is the reboot for James Bond. When that came out, I'm like that guy, that dopey looking
I
guy. Like
know. I
who's
know.
he, right? And they killed it. I mean, it's just like he's phenomenal. I mean, he's like awesome,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and someone saw something that I didn't see, and it's often been like that. And so I have my choices that I think will be
Hmm.
a good fit, but I think it's going to be a very fun process because you just don't know. You might get
Right.
someone that comes in and reads it, and then maybe it's just an up and coming series that they've done. You don't really recognize them. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like
Yeah.
that's my person. And so that's the fun of it because it's such a great story and such an in a sense a revolutionary story because there's just nothing like it in cinematic history. Period.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
tried to anchor it into stuff. We've tried to compare it to stuff, Raiders of the Lost Ark or
Hmm.
National Treasure, or
Yeah.
and it's like it's not. You know what I mean? It's so exciting and unique, and so what
Yeah.
this public is starving for. That yeah,
Well, we're
it'll be fun. It'll be a fun
yeah,
process.
we're looking forward to it. I heard that the actress who plays Princess Kate on The Crown was not, she was just a regular girl that happened to look like Princess Kate, and
Too funny.
somebody recommended to her that she go and audition for the role, right?
Wow.
And she landed the role. So you never know who you're going to
No,
end up with on these, on your series. And hopefully you'll have continuity as well, that you'll get somebody who's able to commit to the entire series. That's always nice when you can have the same actors
that's the idea
time
too.
and time again.
You want the
Yeah,
same Detective Gower Stone, and to me, it would be thrilling because it's got such longevity. And then book two or movie two is in France, and then
yeah,
book three is in Italy. So
yeah,
to me, that's kind of fun and exciting and
yeah,
attractive to
yeah.
the
I
whole
remember
cast.
I don't know if you remember the Anne of Green Gables series that came out with
Mhm.
Megan Follows. I mean, that was one of the best cast series I ever watched, and
Mm.
they've never surpassed it since then. So I hope you get that caliber of people for the film, because
But
that
that's
was
who we
just
will.
such a
Yeah,
classic. Yeah,
those are the kind of actors. So it's like we
yeah,
have sort of
it's so
our
good.
choice, but really just some great. I mean, really, honestly, people would say who are you going to get for Tom and Sarah,
Yeah,
and I don't know. That's the casting director, but it's going to be
sure.
veterans, meaning like
Yeah,
they've been in the game since five. Very professional.
yeah,
They've done theater. They've done commercials. They've probably done a
hmm,
few series in the background,
yeah,
and they might be 14 or 15 with a very young age, but
yeah.
they're going to be just great actors. You know what I
That's
mean?
exciting. Yeah,
And for all of
yeah,
them, and for and what it is though, it's such a great story, and so that's what I'm saying. I don't need a Tom Cruise or an A-list actor to make sure that we hit this or hit that, or
hmm,
I'm not saying that's the one, but you know what I mean. Like it doesn't
yeah,
really matter because it's
yeah,
going to be such a great story. But it will be some actors that you recognize. I love Denzel Washington. He's probably my favorite actor, and so
yeah. Oh,
if I
he's
can
good. Yeah,
somehow get him to walk in just to be in the background for
yeah.
a shot,
Well,
we'll
we have
fly him
to.
out. Yeah.
We need his voice, though. We need
Oh,
something of
he's
his
so
voice.
cool.
I think that this is exciting because so many people have given up on Hollywood and the
Sure,
film industry because of what we know about a lot
sure,
of the really nefarious behaviors that have taken place in that
sure.
industry. However, it's such an amazing art form that really
It is.
has only existed for just over 100 years, and I think that
Sure.
there's tremendous potential as people like you get involved, as we have really solid storylines and promote a return to the cinematic greatness that we know is possible. And
Agreed.
I'm just not one of those people to want to completely abandon an entire industry
Sure.
because of the poor behavior and poor choices of key players in the past. I think that there's room for redemption. And listening
Absolutely.
to you and hearing your thoughts and your excitement and your ideas and everything that you've brought together, it really does give me hope that people will have a reason to go to the movies again. And we're seeing that. We're seeing some of those things trickle out, like with films like Sound of Freedom and
Sure.
those things that are coming out that are really, really well done. We want people want the quality. They don't want a watered down version of a film uh, just for the sake of sanitizing cinema. They want quality storylines, quality acting,
They
quality
do.
cinematography, and I'm excited. I'm getting excited because that sounds like exactly what you're bringing together.
Yeah, that's why we believe, like I said before, it'll be one of the highest grossing films in cinematic history. I say that
Yeah,
with absolute certainty, if you
yeah,
will,
it's very
because
exciting.
it's that kind of story it's going to have. I was just doing an interview earlier. We were talking about the film, and I think it's the type of thing after 2 hours and 15 minutes, you're going to have the audience, and they're just going to be sitting there because they can't believe it's over, and they can't believe what they
Yeah,
just saw. That this kind of heartfelt, fast-paced, exciting quality with nothing compromised. And I think it's the type of film that you're going to see the young kids getting up out of their seats and clapping and cheering. And you haven't seen this stuff for 30 years. I think you're going to see lines around the theaters. I think people will finish watching it and go back out and buy tickets to watch it again. I think it's the type of film that 12 and 14, 13 and 14-year-olds are going to come back and see it 5, 6, 10, 15 times. Grandparents finally have something to take the grandkids to. Parents finally have a family night out.
yeah,
You're going to see this across the globe, and I say this out of sincerity and humility. but I say it out of excitement. And I also say this to inspire your audience
Mhm.
that there is an 85% gap that needs to be filled by great quality content, which you were just talking about,
Yeah.
so that the gauntlet is thrown, and do it. But just know this, that anything of value takes a tremendous amount of hard work and time. And you're not going to have an overnight success. You know what I mean? And do your due diligence, get the best people you can possibly get in there. Don't think you're dictated by money. The technology today is you could film some great stuff here in your backyard practically. Just write a great story, get some great actors. There's plenty out there
Hmm.
that can cut their teeth on just a really well story. You can have a great reunion of friends that haven't seen each other for 20 years up in Maine over the fall. Get some beautiful exterior shots with the rolling coasts and the beautiful trees and some great actors and some great, what I mean? It's just like, just
Yeah.
do it and get it out there. And trust me, if it's good quality content, people are going to come to it and you're going to knock it out of the park. When we're talking about this, if you build it, they'll come. You know what I mean? Normally
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. You can build it and nobody knows you exist. I'm saying if you have a great television program, you do a great movie of content quality, they'll find it. And there's so many platforms to put it out there. I mean, in many ways, Hollywood's dead. They've been dead for a while. They're bankrupt. They've been bankrupt for decades. They're held together right now with scotch tape and baling wire. That's a fact. How's it working
Yeah.
out for Disney? Well done with your agenda. You're done. You're finished. You
Yeah.
know, look at
Yeah.
look at all these films that are coming out. The Avengers stuff. That last one, Tank, big time.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible because nobody cares
Yeah.
about that crap. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been watching series that were produced, 30 years ago. Even though
I am
the
too.
even though the video quality isn't as good,
Yeah.
it's just that's what we want to see. And
I
or
know.
some of the things that are coming up on Masterpiece, but again, they're usually
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
because you don't have the agenda. And it's worth it to me to find something that just has a good storyline uh, up over the latest AI or special effects or
Yeah.
anything like that. We would rather have a good story than all of the bells and whistles. So I
Yes.
agree. And it's kind of funny sometimes seeing the like the grainy film, and you just think, well, it's just. But we've got a cliffhanger here because the writing is so good, and
Mm,
that's what we need, right? And
absolutely.
so I'm excited. I've got the link up here on the screen for my listeners. It is Britfield.com. You can find out everything you need to know about this book series, about the author, about all of the scenery, the places where the stories unfold. It's all right there on the interactive website. And so I do hope that people will take advantage of this. Order the books. You can order them wherever books are sold. You can get the audio version, whatever you choose to do. I really want to encourage all of my listeners, share this episode, get this out to people that that appreciate and are looking for this quality of literature and soon to be cinematography. Um, any last words for us before we sign off here?
Yeah, I just think that right now is a great time to be encouraged. I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now, most of it out of your control, most of it fear-based and panic-based. And don't give in to that. Be focused right now. We all have gifts and talents. We were all born creative. And get back into something that you want to do. Doesn't mean you have to quit your job tomorrow, but just start to contribute to the quality of society and do something great. If it's nothing more than raising your kids and giving them the best education possible and spending time with them and playing with them, and going out to the park or the museum or the beach, invest in that, invest in our next generation of children, because that's what we're doing. What the Britfield series is all about.
Chad Stewart, the Britfield series. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we hope to have you back soon. Keep us posted on the
Well,
progress of the film. Thank you.
excellent. Thank you.
I'm Mary Grace, and I am one of the biggest fans of My Pillow because they have quality America First products that are just made right here in the country, and they last. We have the towels, and I have a big issue with towels that shrink up after the first washing. The My Pillow towels stay color fast, they stay in shape, and they stay that way for years after repeated washings. You can't ask for better. Plus, they actually work. When somebody buys from MyPillow using the promo code Mary Grace, that does a couple of things. It brings in a little bit of an affiliate commission to our company, and it helps us to pay the bills, keep the lights on, keep the internet going, travel to places that we do to give you remote content. And it also helps MyPillow by giving them the support of people who genuinely value quality and companies that support real people right here in the United States and employ people all over this country and give back to this country. Go directly to mypillow.com, use promo code Mary Grace, and buy everything you need for the home. There's no need to spend time shopping anywhere else. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code Mary Grace, get your towels, pillows, sheets, robes, dog beds, pet beds, cat beds, whatever it is that you want for the home. Go to mypillow.com, promo code Mary Grace. It's easy. Don't waste your time anywhere else. mypillow.com, promo code Mary Grace. Thank you. Listen, your health is your best investment. We have a country to save, and we need people who are in the best shape of their lives, physically, mentally, spiritually. Why not connect with a team who cares about you on every single level from the inside out? Official Synapse is that team. Officialsynapse.com. It's official, synapse.com. Tell them Mary Grace sent you, and they will treat you like family. If you're like most people, you really probably haven't thought about transferring your paper dollars into physical gold and silver. But I want to tell you a story. My friend Andrew Sorcini over at Beverly Hills Precious Metals, he recently went overseas and he wanted to buy a watch. He likes fine watches. He took 3 currencies with him. He took gold, he took Bitcoin, and he took American dollars. Now, there used to be a time when the American dollar was king. I remember that when I used to travel overseas. Everybody wanted dollars. The people that he was dealing with would not take his dollars because the dollar is so devalued around the world. They wanted the gold. So this is what I recommend to you. I want you to think about this. If you have cash in the bank, if you have an investment account that you have worked hard for years to accumulate, consider the value of converting that money into physical gold and silver. You're not buying something that's losing value. You're changing those worthless dollars into a tangible physical asset that will go up in value, which it has done historically. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to bh-pm.com. The first thing you're going to do is schedule that free consultation. Second thing, just think rationally about this, pray about it, go to the Lord, see what the best decision for you and your family is. I can't tell you that. I don't want to pressure you into that. What I do know is don't be scared, be prepared. And so the third thing you want to do is make a decision for you and your family. Make a decision, take action. bh-pm.com. Let them know Mary Grace sent you. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who watches this show. Thank you for being a participant. Thank you for being a loyal audience member. I just want to remind you, if you like what you've seen, please share this and don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and also sign up for my email list so you never miss a show.